So here we go, everybody. Welcome to the Meet the Oppo series, the show where I get the thoughts and the insight and the lowdown on Town's next opponent, which of course is Peterborough United at Portman Road in League One. Today, I'm joined by Josh. My friend, thanks for joining me. How's things?
Very good, thank you. Could be a little better down at London Road, but I'm all well, so at least we've got that.
Yes, mate. It's always good to have your own health, but also your football club doing well is always a nice bonus. But at the moment, it's all up in the air at Peterborough, sixth in League One. How would you recap this season? Of course, back in League One after relegation last year. Yeah, 10 wins, 1 draw, 9 defeats. Yeah, take it away.
I think that says everything, really. We've either been pretty good with the 10 wins or absolutely dreadful, and more often than not lately, it's been dreadful. I mean, the away record is terrible. We haven't won away since I think it's early October against MK Dons. And that's sort of how it's been since October, really. We haven't won many games, but we seem to be clinging on to that last playoff spot. I know there's a few teams behind us that have got games in hand. If they were to win them, we'd drop out. But I guess you can't complain too much if you're in the playoffs. But we might be a little bit lucky to be that far up the table, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So it means out of those 9 defeats, 7 of them have been away. So that's not a bad omen for Town fans, but also this is what normally happens when a team hasn't won away from home for a long while. They come to Portman Road and they win. But we're a different side these days. But let's talk about the current mood then, Josh, with fans, Grant McCann. What's being said? I know there's been a lot going on with the ownership stuff as well. But yeah, give us a lowdown.
Yeah, quite a lot of frustration, I think, in the fan base with McCann. It's sort of 50-50 as whether we should be carrying on with Grant, really. I think lots of people are frustrated, not just at the sort of lineups that he's picking. So I think for the most part, the players are the right ones. But in terms of formation, he's persisting with this 4-3-3, which leaves whoever we play up top, usually Johnson, Clark, Harris, quite isolated. And it's becoming a bit of an issue, really. People really want to see Jack Marriott, who I'm sure we'll talk about later, and Jono up top as a 2, because they're both proven goal scorers at the level. But unfortunately, that's not happening. We've got plenty of talent in the wide areas. Kwame Poku, Ephraim Mason-Clark. There's plenty of talent out there. They're just not really seeing enough of the ball in the formation we're playing. And I think the more he persists with it, the more frustration builds with the fans, and it's not a good thing, is it?
No, I don't know why managers do that. They always have to stick to one formation. They don't have a plan B, and I know it frustrates a lot of fans at any club. Let's bring up the last 11 then against Barnsley and talk about some of the players. We'll get on to Jack Marriott in a bit because, of course, he's connected with the club. But, Johnson Clark Harris is always going to be the standout one. He scored against us before. But is there any other players we should look out for who has been a danger man this season?
Well, Mason Clark's come in from Barnet. He came in, I don't know when it would have been, probably late September, I guess, from Barnet, and sort of came, and we thought he'll be on the fringes for a bit, and maybe he'll work his way onto the bench, and by next season he'll be in and amongst the starting 11. But he's really started incredibly quickly. Scored a couple of fantastic goals in our FA Cup tie against Salford. Looked the best player on the pitch. Again, he's obviously stepping up from the National League, so he's going to be in and out. He's not going to be quite consistent at League One level yet, but he's certainly a danger man. You would have to say the same for Kwame Poku. He's struggled a little bit with injuries of late, not got the consistent run of games, but when he has performed and when he has found that top level, I think Poku and Mason Clark are both brilliant players at this level. And if they can start producing, then maybe we'll be creating a little bit more for whoever's up top.
Indeed. And let's talk about Jack Marriott then. He came through our youth system, only played a handful of games, then got released, and he's, of course, gone up the league, scored goals for various teams, of course, with you guys as well. This year, he scored goals still, but as you said, he's Grant McCann sticking to that one up top. So you're going to, of course, start Johnson Clark Harris. So what can we expect with Jack Marriott? Could we expect him to come off the bench, or will he go with two hot toppers? I don't know. It's one of those things.
Well, I do expect it to be the 4-3-3 with Jono up top. I mean, last time we were in League One, Johnson scored 30 goals. So, I mean, for a man, and he scored 14, 15 last season in the Championship, for a man with that sort of scoring record, he's very difficult to leave out when he's fit. And luckily for us, he's been fit most of the season. Marriott started the season fairly slowly. When he does get his chances off the bench, he seems to be performing fairly well. But in terms of starting on his own as a lone striker, he just simply hasn't got the physical presence to be able to do that job on his own. I'd absolutely love to see him and Clark Harris start up top together, but I don't think it's going to happen, especially in a game against one of the top sides in the league. We're going to need men behind the ball when we can, and I think that's going to be a priority for McCann, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that next. What game can we expect from a Grant McCann side? So we've got some good players there, but what sort of game should we expect? And of course, is there a different sort of game when away from home, which of course probably is benefit for us because at the moment your away record is horrendous. But is there anything you guys change for away from home, or is it a sort of similar style of play?
Similar style of play, really. I mean, we try and utilise the wide areas when we can with the one up top, trying to get as many balls into the box. We've got Joe Ward back from injury, who's a big boost. Whether he plays at wing back or on the wing remains to be seen, but he's been out for probably a couple of months. So having him back, he was terrible against Barnsley, but it's nice to have him back anyway. So I mean, the wide areas are key for us, really. We've got Fuchs, Taylor, and Kiprianu or Ben Thompson, whoever starts in that midfield. It's a fairly solid midfield three. The back four seems to be shuffling all the time. There's no telling who's going to play in that back four. But for us, if we can get the balls to those wide players I mentioned, Poku and Mason Clark and Joe Ward as well, that's probably where we have most of our success. And if we can get to the ball to them and take on the Ipswich fullbacks, then it give us a bit of a chance. But we need to start well, because I can't remember the last time we started a game well.
Yeah, that's always the thing. I think that's going to be the key thing for this game. Whoever starts well, maybe get the first goal, is going to be a big one. And our record against you is actually really bad. I think we've only ever beaten you a few times. The last three games, of course, was the 4-1 defeat and the 1-0 defeat, and then, of course, the 2-1 defeat at London Road back in February 2021. But then your last three games, of course, you haven't won the last three league games. You know, you're out the FA Cup, unfortunately. You're out the Papa John's Trophy. How are you feeling then, Josh, going into this game at Portman Road? It's going to be a big crowd. A 12:30 kickoff is our last home game before Christmas, so I'm sure it's going to be a festive. Of course, the World Cup as well afterwards. So I'm sure both sets of fans are hoping their team are going to win. Hopefully, England win against France. But yeah, how are you feeling?
Not that positive, to be honest, with the recent run of form. I've managed to go to a couple of the recent away games. I think Bristol Rovers is the one that sticks in mind. We didn't even have a shot on target in that game. Long way down to Bristol to not see your team have a shot on target. So it is difficult to be optimistic, but we've definitely got good players. You just have to look around the squad. Most of them played in the Championship last season, and if they didn't play last season, they've played for other clubs like Ben Thompson and Bergstrom, obviously on loan from Chelsea. So we've got good players. The mood in the camp obviously isn't as it should be, as you would hope it would be. But I think they were given a little bit of a lesson by Grant McCann after the loss to Barnsley last Friday. He locked him in the dressing room for over an hour after the game and gave him a stern talking to. So you'd hope that would wake them up a bit. And with it being such a big game, I just hope they're up for it. And if they're up for it, we've got the quality to do some damage. So yeah, just fingers crossed from a posh perspective. Not that you'll be thinking that.
Yeah, definitely. I want to get your thoughts quickly on, of course, the posh chairman, Darren McCann, coming out and sort of saying, sport players on his podcast. As a fan, hearing that from a chairman, what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, because I like the fact that he's so open and the fans have that open dialogue with him. We get fans forums a couple of times a year. He obviously does his podcast every week or so. He's active on social media. So having that link between the owner and the fans is a good thing. He can be very outspoken, as you've mentioned, and we've heard on the podcast over the last year or so. And I think if I was a player listening on to the criticism I'm getting from my owner, I probably wouldn't be too happy. Some of that's going to have to stay in house, in my opinion. Obviously, the fans are going to have their views on social media, but to hear that coming from the man that owns the football club, I'm not sure I'd be wanting to hear that as a player.
No, I wouldn't at all. And definitely after, the manager, in the dressing room for an hour, you don't want to also then hear chairman coming out and saying stuff, because I'm sure Grant McCann was saying some good things. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Well, Josh, it's been a pleasure. Any other business? Any other notes from yourself ahead of the game? I won't get your predictions. It's always hard to do that, but it's gonna be an interesting game.
Yeah, just going to be an interesting game. I think we obviously come in on bad form, but with a game as big as this, and obviously the sort of local rivalry, there's a little bit of it, and we've seen over the years there's been some good games between the two. Hopefully, we're going to take a decent following out there, with it being a 12:30 kickoff. I'm sure there'll be plenty of town fans down there as well. So yeah, it should be a good game. Just fingers crossed both teams turn up.
Yes, indeed. Well, bring it on. Hope everybody's enjoyed. Got some good insight from Josh there. And yeah, bring on the game on Saturday. Bye-bye for now.